the uneducated businessman here. Why do the rich keep on getting richer and the poor get poorer? Well, it's to do with two simple words, and that's assets and liabilities. To be a success in life, you have to understand what an asset is and what a liability is. And it took me years to work this out. I had a real poor man's education when it came to money as a kid. I was taught leave school, get a job, work hard, buy a house, have kids, get married, retire. That was my education, and it's wrong. It's not the way to do it. It's the way most people do it, because that's the way most people are taught. But let me tell you something, when you leave school and you work hard for a wage, you're getting yourself into what's called the rat race. And when you buy a house, you've bought your very first liability, and you've absolutely nailed some of the nails into the coffin of getting out of that rat race. And it becomes incredibly hard to break the cycle once you start acquiring liabilities. A house that you own, that you live in, is a liability. And most people won't agree with that. Most people will say when you buy your home, you've bought your very first asset. It's the biggest thing you'll ever buy, and it's the best thing you'll ever buy. It's wrong. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket every month. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket every month. The rich acquire assets. The rich buy things that pay them money every month, make them money every month. They don't buy liabilities, or if they buy liabilities, they only buy liabilities when they've got enough assets to afford to pay for the liability. And I'll cover that in a little bit as the video goes on. But what most people do is they buy the liability first. They get the job and they buy the home. Now, this is why I think a home is a liability. When you buy a home, you pay the mortgage, you're spending money. You pay the insurance, you're spending more money. You maintain the property, you're spending more money. You have to decorate maybe the property. You have to pay the gas, you have to pay the electric, you have to heat the house. It costs you money every single day of the week. Now, does that sound like an asset to you? No, that's a liability. The only time your home is an asset is on maybe 3 occasions. One, if you rented a room within your home and that room generated you an income. 2, if you moved out and you rented the house out completely to somebody else who paid you to live there, that would turn the home into an asset. Or 3, the day you sell the property. If the property has acquired value over your time of owning it, and on the day of selling it you release a profit, then it's an asset on that day and that day only, because that's the only day it actually gives you money. Up until then, it's give you nothing. It's taken away from you. So what I do is I acquire assets. I acquire things that are going to pay me to own the liabilities, because we all need a home to live in. We all, not all, but most of us want a car. A car is another liability. I had a very, very harsh lesson when it came to cars when I was young. I left school. First thing I wanted to do was buy a car. I got a job. I wanted a better car. I had some savings and I bought an old car, but it wasn't really doing it for me. I wanted a better car to impress the girls with. So I went out and got a loan and I bought the car. No, I didn't. I actually went out and I was so stupid. I got the loan. I spent the whole amount of the loan in the pub. I went crazy. I had this money in my bank and I was in the pub every night of the week. There was nice young girls in the pub every night of the week. I would buy them drinks, trying to get laid, and I spent the whole of my money, the whole of my loan money, on buying women drinks in pubs. I never ever got the car. I didn't. I never got the car. That's a true story. So I swerved the liability of the car because I didn't buy this car that was going to cost me money every month. I had the liability of the loan and nothing to show for it, other than maybe some good memories. And I had to pay that loan off over many years with nothing to show for it. So that taught me a lesson. That taught me that when I borrow money, I've got to pay it back. And if I've got nothing to show for it, nothing that's going to generate me income, I got to pay that money back out of my earnings. So for 2 or 3 years, my end of month income was down because the bank took the first chunk, taking their money back, obviously. So I had a sharp lesson there, and it taught me that if I want to progress in life, I can't rely on my salary, and I can't rely on borrowing money to get things that I want, because that's going to cost me every month, and I didn't like that. I really didn't. So I started to save. Actually, what I did was, the money I was spending on my loan, when the loan was over, I put into a sub account. I never ever touched it. I let it build up, and that was actually, for me, quite a smart thing to do. And I don't know how I come to that conclusion, I can't remember, but it was a smart thing to do, because I'd gotten used to not having that money. So when I paid it into my separate account, I still wasn't used to having it. I didn't ever get used to having it, so that money just built up. And then something very fortunate happened in my life. I come across someone that was a bit of an entrepreneur, and he taught me the value of buying assets, and he taught me the value of buying property to generate an income. So before I even bought a home to live in, I started to buy houses to rent out. And because I built up some savings within this sub account, I had a deposit, and I bought a property at quite an early age, and I rented it, and I was on the right side of a loan for the very first time in my life. I bought a loan, I bought the debt on a property that generated me income at the end of the month, and I really liked it. I really liked the fact that I could have this house that someone else lived in, someone else predominantly maintained, and they paid me to live there, and at the end of the month I had extra income for doing nothing, or practically nothing. And that got me into property big time, and I started to work out ways where I could acquire more and more and more. And that's what I did. I started to buy more and more and more property, because I could see the value of what is called an asset. And like I say, an asset gives you money every month, and this is what you need to look for if you want to become rich. Now, it doesn't have to be property. Property at the moment is a dicey one. I'm holding back on property because I do believe property is in a bubble. I'm buying another property at the moment for myself to live in because I need a new home. But aside from that, I'm not buying any more property to rent out, because I do believe property is going to crash. I believe we're in a bubble. But having said that, if you can get property below market value, and you've got the time and effort and energy to go out there and find the deals, property is historically one of the best assets you can get into. It's bricks and mortar. It's been there for hundreds of years. It will probably be there for hundreds of years. You know where it is at all times. You can go and see it and touch it and feel it. You can rent it out, and you can get an income off of it every month for very minimal hassle. So it's a good investment, it's a good asset. And if you can build up a portfolio of properties that pay you every month, you can quickly add to your income. You can generate more wealth. And if you can buy at a good price and hold on to it over a period of time, traditionally property goes up in value. So you've got a good capital gain for the future as well. There are other things that will generate income for you. I look at business now as my number one asset. I look at investing in businesses that are going to generate me an income every month, that is going to pay me a dividend every month. Now, it might be a business I own, or it might be someone else's business that I invest in, because I know the business is going to do well, and I can see the cash flow coming into this business, and I can see if I put some money into it, I'll get a return on it. So I'm always looking at things that I can achieve money from every month, that I can get money back from every month. I'm really looking at things these days that take money out of my pocket. This car, for instance. This car, it's a nice car. I like the car. when I bought it, it did save me a lot of money in capital gains because it's a green car, it's an electric car. So I had a saving there on my capital gains tax. So there was a reason for buying the car. But on the whole, it's a liability. It doesn't make me any money. Every day I have to charge it up. I have to insure it. Actually, I don't have to tax it because it's electric, but generally you have to tax it. I have to put tyres on it. I have to maintain the car. It doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't make me anything. It costs me money. But what I did was I built a business that could afford to pay for the car. So I could also justify buying the car through the business because I saved the capital gains tax, and the car and the company profits pay for the car. It's not coming out of my income per se. So I managed to buy this car through my business, not through my savings, not through my income. In the past, I would have had an income at the end of the month, and I'd have got a loan for a car, and I'd have paid that loan back, and I'd have paid to maintain and fuel the car. So I've been hit from all angles. A car really is only an asset if you are a taxi driver, if maybe you do weddings, if you get paid to drive. That's when the car becomes an asset. So if you want to become rich, you've got to understand the difference between assets and liabilities. A liability, and it's really easy to look at, is what you're buying going to make you money at the end of the month, or is it going to cost you money at the end of the month? If it's going to cost you money, it's a liability. If it's going to make you money, it's an asset. Now, the way I look at things now is if I really want to buy a liability, if I really want a new car and it's a liability, I look at how many assets would I need to acquire to pay me enough money every month to pay for that liability. And then I'll work on how I can start acquiring those assets to pay for that liability, because then I've got the liability for free. I've got the car for free. My assets are paying for it. And that's the way I try to structure my life now. Now I'm not an extravagant person. I don't have the will to have too many shiny things. I don't have the need for it anymore. When I was younger, I did. You know, and I wanted the thing with the bells and whistles to impress the girls. And I wouldn't change the way I was, because the way I was has made me who I am today. But if I could go back in time and I could have a word for myself back then, I would have certainly told myself to start looking at buying more assets a lot quicker than I did, and holding those assets for the long term, and using those assets to pay for the liabilities. I would have invested in the assets before the liabilities. I would have delayed my gratification of having the liability, and I would have got the assets. I'd have gone through the pain of going without to acquire the assets to pay for the liabilities over the long period. Because when you've got things that pay you every month, you can go on to buy as many liabilities as you want for as long as you want, as long as that asset is paying for them. And that's what the rich do. They acquire things over a long period of time. They only acquire things that pay them every month. They acquire stocks and shares. They acquire property. They acquire businesses. They invest in businesses. They become angel investors. They work out ways of getting things that's going to give them a return. That could be bonds, that could be derivatives, it could be any vehicle that's going to pay them every month. And they will acquire all these things before they buy their liability. And it's very, very simple strategy. Nowadays, I'm not going to say this is an asset as such, because it doesn't technically give me money at the end of the month. But I buy gold and silver, and I buy cryptocurrencies, and I buy them for the long term. Now, technically, they can give me an income if I want to, because I can borrow against them, because I've got the crypto stored on a ledger, and I can go to a crypto lending company, and I can put my tokens up or my crypto up as collateral, and I can borrow against that to give me an income, and that's quite tax advantageous to do that as well because it's tax free. I don't do it because I don't need to, but I could do. But I buy crypto and I buy gold and silver because I see that as a store of wealth, and I see that as a way of protecting myself for the future. I buy property if the price is right, although I'm not actively seeking anything at the moment because I am waiting for the crash to come. My main source of income is my businesses. I build in my businesses because that's my number one asset. I invest in other people's businesses because I see that as an easy way to get a return every month on my money. And the liabilities I buy these days are few and far between. I really don't buy that many liabilities anymore because I don't need that much. It's surprising actually how little you do need in life. When I was younger, I thought I needed so much. And when I look back on it, I did need so much because I needed to impress other people. I had the ego. I wanted things to impress other people. And that is the number one reason I think people don't get rich, especially uneducated people like me. We buy shiny things because we want to impress other people. I wanted my car when I was a kid, not because I really wanted the car. I wanted the image. I wanted that car so I could drive around the circuit at night and impress people, pick up girls. That's what I wanted that car for. I wanted nice clothes. I wanted expensive clothes, not because they kept me any warmer or they looked better on me than some of the cheaper clothes. But I knew if I went to a club wearing expensive clothes, I would impress people. I bought things that impressed other people, or that I thought impressed other people. And it was the wrong way to do it. I say it was the wrong way to do it. I had a good time. And I did have a good time. And I enjoyed myself immensely. And maybe having a nice car and the nice clothes contributed to some of the success I had with some of the girls I met. So I'm not going to say I would change that. I wouldn't change it. I've got some wonderful memories, but I would have probably, well, that's a lie. I was going to say I would have probably delayed that gratification to acquire assets, to pay for really nice things, to go on and buy bigger and better things, which didn't physically cost me money. My assets paid for it. But you know what? I wouldn't have. I know if I went back and I'd spoke to myself as a kid and I told myself that as a kid, I would have said no. I'm having too much fun. I'm enjoying myself. I'm happy. Leave it. And I wouldn't have changed diddly squat. I would have gone out there. I'd still got the loan. I'd have still bought the expensive clothes. I'd have still tried to impress as many girls as I could because I did. I had fun. I really enjoyed it. So that to go back and say I would have changed things would have been a lie. I wouldn't have. So all I want to get across in this video is do what makes you happy. Do what you want. As long as you're not hurting someone. If it's making you happy, do it. You only get one life, and I've got some wonderful memories of when I was younger that I wouldn't change. And if you're making memories now and you're acquiring liabilities and you're really happy, you're happy with that, that's fine. But at some stage in your life, you're going to want to have to take some time and effort into understanding what an asset is. If you really want to go to another level, if you really want to build wealth in your life, you're going to have to understand what assets are. And you're going to have to understand that you're going to have to work hard to acquire these assets as much as you possibly can. And if you have had, like I did, a lot of fun in your life and you acquired a lot of liabilities, it's going to make it harder for you when you want to start acquiring the assets, because you're going to have to service these liabilities, you're going to have to pay for these liabilities before you get the assets. And it's doable. You know, all you've got to do is work out a way of how you can reduce your liabilities a lot quicker. Now that's maybe selling things, that's maybe paying extra into your debt so you can bring the debt down a lot quicker. But you're going to have to work out how you're going to get rid of your liabilities quicker so you can start building your assets. And the reason why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer is the poor never take the time to work out what assets are. They get in this cycle, and maybe they had fun and maybe they're happy, and that's fine. And if that's you, good luck for you. If you're not interested in building wealth and you're just interested in having fun, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, good luck to you. But we're on this channel because we want to get educated, we want to build wealth, we want to build security, we want to build great futures. And if you do want to do that and you want to do it fast, don't acquire assets, or if you've don't acquire liabilities. And if you've got liabilities, work out how you can reduce them as quickly as you possibly can, and then start acquiring assets. Buy things that are going to make you money, buy things that are going to put money in your pocket every month. Once you start getting in the habit of doing that, and you look at building your asset column, you can then start using your assets and the money you acquire every month to buy the odd liability here and there, to enjoy, to buy the nice car, to buy the nicer house, to buy the nicer clothes, to have the nicer holidays. All the things that are going to cost you money, you can use your assets to pay for it. And that is how you build wealth, and that's how you keep your wealth, and that's how you never ever have to spend your money. I very, very rarely spend my money these days. I spend the money that my assets make me, and that keeps me wealthy, and it gives me a really, really good life. I hope that was useful. I hope that was helpful. If like anything you don't understand or you want more clarification, just drop me a comment below. I'm always happy to share advice and happy to help people if they want more information. It's always free. I never charge for anything. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me gain more subscribers. It helps me get these videos out to more people. And even if you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. I don't mind. But what I do appreciate is if you do give it a thumbs down, just tell me what it is that you didn't like, because then I can work on improving and getting better content out all the time. And that's what I want to do. I just want to improve. Anyway, I'm the Uneducated Businessman. I'll see you in another video soon. Over and out.